Danses concertantes is the title of more than a dozen ballets set to the score of the same title, for chamber orchestra, written in 1941–42 by Igor Stravinsky, commissioned by Werner Janssen. It has been used for ballets by numerous choreographers attracted by its undeniable danceability. Balanchine versions. The title of Stravinsky's orchestral work makes clear his intention that it be used for dance performance. George Balanchine, 1904–1983, his friend and colleague, took him at his word, creating two versions of a ballet set to his music. One for the Ballet Russe de Monte Carlo in 1944 and one for the New York City Ballet in 1972. 1944 version. Balanchine choreographed Danses concertantes as his first new work for the Ballet Russe de Monte Carlo at the beginning of his two-year association with the company as choreographer. He began work on it in early summer of 1944, while the company was performing in Song of Norway, an operetta for which he had created dances in a ballet, in Los Angeles and San Francisco, with scenery and costumes designed by Eugene Berman. Danses concertantes had its premiere on 10 September 1944 at New York City Center of Music and Drama, with Robert Balaban as conductor. The cast was headed by Alexander Danilova and Frederick Franklin, the brilliant and popular stars of the company. An effervescent work, it began and ended with parades between them. One observer wrote, "Came several rhythmically quirky pas de trois for company soloists and a demanding pas de deux for Danilova and Franklin." The fourth variation was danced by Maria Tallchiff, Nicholas Magallanes, and Mary Ellen Moylan. Critical reception was mixed. John Martin, an advocate of modern dance, pronounced it a clever, somewhat mathematical job of choreography, almost totally devoid of dancing. An opposing view was put forth by Edwin Denby, a balletomane, who praised the joyousness of the piece. 1972 version. Almost 3 decades later, Balanchine re-choreographed Danses concertantes for the New York City Ballet's Stravinsky Festival. In 1972, the original designs for sets and costumes by Eugene Berman were recreated, and the structure of the piece was much the same, with beginning and ending parades, a sequence of pas de trois, and a pas de deux. The choreography was, however, largely different from the original, although it was similar in its neoclassical style. Only the fourth variation was similar in structure to the original pas de trois. The cast included Linda Yorth and John Clifford in the principal roles, supported by an ensemble of 8 women and 4 men. The premiere was held on 20 June 1972 at the New York State Theatre at Lincoln Center. Robert Irving conducted the orchestra. One critic noted that the legendary reputation of the 1944 work promised somewhat more than the 1972 work delivered. Effects were made, but they quickly evaporated, generating a feeling of unease or inconclusiveness. A video recording of a performance on 4 May 1989 by the New York City Ballet, with Darcy Kistler and Robert Lafosse in the leading roles, is available in the Jerome Robbins Dance Division of the New York Public Library for the Performing Arts. Macmillan version. Kenneth Macmillan, 1929–1992, created his version of Danses concertantes in 1955 for the Sadler's Wells Theatre Ballet in London. It was his first major work, his first for the Sadler's Wells Company, and his first of an eventual 7, set to a Stravinsky score, with its bright, carnivalesque acute score by Nicholas Georgiades, then still a student at the Slade School. It had its premiere on 18 January 1955 at the Sadler's Wells Theatre in London. John Lanchbury conducted the orchestra. The cast included Marion Lane and Donald Britton in the principal roles, supported by David Poole, Sarah Neal, Gilbert Vernon, Annette Page, Donald McCleary, and Brian Lawrence. Macmillan's choreography for the suite of dances is sharp and spiky, with pointed fingers, angled portes de brass, and sudden changes of direction. There is a bustling general dance full of entrances and exits for the company, a pas de trois, a rumbuster solo for a male dancer, an adagio for the ballerina and 5 cavaliers, and a pas de deux. It is fast, fleet, and contemporary, with hints of jive, revue, cinema, and the circus. It was an immediate success. Clement Crisp wrote of the first night's performance, "I still recall how the eye was teased by the sparks of energy and wild originality given off by the movement, how the Georgiades designs flowed and flashed, how bright-footed the young cast seemed." Ninette de Valois, artistic director of Sadler's Wells Ballet, was also favorably impressed, as she quickly took Macmillan's ballet into the repertory of the main company at the Royal Opera House, Covent Garden. Christensen version. A few years later, Lou Christensen, 1909–1984, created his version of Danses concertantes for the San Francisco Ballet, with scenery and costumes designed by Tony Duquette. It had its premiere on 13 October 1959 at the War Memorial Opera House and was warmly received by critics and the public. Deborah Sewell noted that it was a ballet within a ballet in which the dances represented both performers and the audience. And Jack Anderson later observed that Christensen had let viewers decide for themselves whether this light plotline was just a pretext for dancing or a more pointed comment on the shows that socialites often put on at opera openings. Christensen's original cast of 22 included Nancy Johnson, Roderick Drew, Sally Bailey, Kent Stowell, Jocelyn Vollmer, Richard Carter, Virginia Johnson, Michael Smann, Fiona Furstner, and Julian Harris, with a later cast including Attila Fixier, Vane Vest, Damara Bennett, Roberta File, Betsy Erickson, and John McFall. It was filmed for archival purposes on 29 March 1976 at the War Memorial Opera House in San Francisco. The video recording can be viewed at the Jerome Robbins Dance Division of the New York Public Library for the Performing Arts. Other versions. Basic information on all works listed here can be found in the database of dances set to Stravinsky's music compiled by Stephanie Jordan and Lorraine Nichols and mounted on the website of the University of Roehampton, London. Job Sanders, 1929–2008, a Dutch choreographer, created his version of Danses concertantes in 1964 for the Nederlands Dance Theatre in The Hague, with designs by Anne Hyde. It had its first performance on 26 May 1964. Todd Bolender, 1914–2004, created his version in 1964 for the ballet company of the Bühnen der Stadt Köln, Cologne Ballet, in Germany, with costumes by Ed Wittstein and a cast led by Ute Rouge, Hans Kressing, Petra Twach, and Ricardo Dews. It was first performed on 9 July 1964 at the Open House in Cologne. Felix Blaska, born 1941, a Polish-French choreographer, created his version in 1968 for the newly formed Ballet Tête Contemporaine in Amiens, France, with designs by Sonia Delaunay. It was first performed on 4 December 1968. It was carried over to the repertory of Les Ballets de Felix Blaska in 1969. Leonard Jacobson, 1904–1975, created his version in 1971 for his company, Choreographic Miniatures, in Leningrad, Russia. John Taras, 1919 to 2004. Created his version in 1971 for the Deutsche Oper Berlin, with designs by George Wakiewicz and with Didi Kali and Klaus Bielitz in the principal roles. It was first performed on 1 December 1971. It was set for a leading couple, 3 trios, and an accompanying group of 6 dances. Fernand No. 1920 to 2006. French-Canadian. Created his version in 1972 for Les Grands Ballets Canadiens in Montreal, Quebec, with Sonia Taverner and Vincent Warren heading a cast of 8 dances. It was first performed in Tête Maisonneuve at Place des Arts, a light-hearted work. It was revived for the Colorado Concert Ballet in 1977. Leslie White, 1936 to 2009. An Australian choreographer, created his version for the Queensland Ballet in 1978, under the title A Little of What You Fancy. It was first performed on 6 September 1978 at the SG10 Theatre in Brisbane. Niels Christ, born 1949, a Dutch choreographer, created his version in the early 1990s for the Scapino Ballet in Rotterdam, with designs by Kezo Decker. It was a plotless work in neoclassical style. It was revived in Helsinki in 1989. Giuseppe Urbani, 1928 to 2007, an Italian choreographer, created his version in 1987 for the Compagnia Artedanza in Rome. It was first performed in September 1987 at the Teatro La Cumartha in Rome. Michael Corder, born 1955, a British choreographer, created his version in 1993 for the Hong Kong Ballet and restaged it in 2000 for the Boston Ballet. Mark Baldwin, born 1954, a British choreographer, created his version in 1998 for the Cisne Negro CIA de Dança in São Paulo, Brazil. Choreographed for 13 dances. It was revived for Images of Dance in 2000 and for the Mark Baldwin Dance Company in 2001.